Hi everybody out there in YouTube and Facebook land. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Today I'm going to be doing a resin fiberglass predator helmet molding. Basically I started out with a cardboard and epoxy form here which is now broken. But this is what we started out with. This is a cardboard epoxy. If you follow my YouTube channel, please like and subscribe to that. You can see the processes that went through. We made this, and this was molded, cardboard and epoxy, and this was molded into silicone right here on the table in fiberglass. That was done a while back. This is the silicone and the fiberglass mold of that helmet. Now, the thing is, the reason I'm doing this now in resin fiberglass is because I did make an attempt to do casting fiberglass for that same helmet. And it came out okay, but the resin casting wasn't that great. And even though I put urethane in these underlying layers, it didn't quite mold up the same way and kind of looked like it was going to collapse. On some areas here it did like bend and warp and twist. So what I thought was okay, this is not an abject failure. I can still probably do something with this for display, but I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way this time. And we're going to mold a cloth fiberglass helmet. What I need to do is first measure out the resin, which I'm going to do right now. I'm probably going to go with about maybe 2 ounces of fiberglass to start with. Do not worry, I've got a fan on in the background, and I have my windows open in here, so the fumes and stuff are not going to be a problem for me, okay? Not going to make me any crazier or any loopier than I already am. Woohoo! So, I measure out about 3 ounces of resin here, and I'm going to add the catalyst. Put the resin aside here. Where's my catalyst? I've got catalyst right here. Now usually it's 4 drops per ounce, so I'm going to need 12 drops of catalyst. Dad, burn it. I'm going to go a couple more just to ensure that it's not underdone. Let me find my little lid that just dropped down here. The resin lid. Oh crap. Come on. Little caps fall off and go on the floor or something. Here it is. I fall down there and lose it. You got to keep your eye on where it's going. Okay, so what we'll do is we will stir this up and get a paintbrush, get a chip brush here. Get your chip brush and a stir stick. Let me get a stir stick real quick. Okay. I got one right here. Okay, this will work. Stir up the fiberglass resin real quick. Make sure it's good and thick and just stir it up. Blah, 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 blah. I might need more because this is a fairly big project. But what I'm doing right now is I'm going to coat the inside of this with the resin. Just do a brush coat inside of it. just to get it wet. I've got clamps on this thing just to hold the shape so it doesn't deteriorate or flop or anything like that. I'll mix up another batch of resin here in a minute for the cloth layer that will go in here. So 3 ounces wasn't quite enough. So we need a little bit more. I'm going to mix probably a big full batch here right now. Just to make sure I have enough, not for just this, but the other. Hate it when bill collectors call you when you're in the middle of something. Let's double this out with the resin. We're only going to do 1 layer right now, today. I'll let that set and cure for a while. There's 3 layers. There's the resin layer that goes on here. Then there will be the cloth layer. This is chopped cloth. This is cloth, not chop. That layer will go on here first. Then there will be another 2 layers of chop matting that will go on to reinforce it. And then 1 more layer of cloth underneath with a layer of resin. It'll still be lightweight. It just needs to be ensured that it's thick enough. Now I've got 8 ounces in here now. So 4 times 8 is 30, what? 28, let's see, 16 and 16, 36. All right. Six, 36 drops. All right. A little bit more. Won't hurt it. I'll stir that up real well. Get it all nice and mixed in and creamy and smoothie. This is auto body fiberglass, by the way. This is not resin, casting resin. This is fiberglass, auto body fiberglass. So basically we're building a Praetor helmet much like they build a motorcycle helmet. So you brush this resin in here. Get this over the thing. And once I've got that on there, I need to do one more thing. I've got to clamp a piece of this silicone mold back just a little bit. I'm going to clamp that right here in the back. Fuck it. Right there. Alright. I was going to do this, but I realized that the edge of this is right where it needs to be. So it's not going to collapse. So what I'll do now, take my first piece of chop, lay it in here. I'll make sure this is done really well. Get a good thick layer on there. Alright, now we take our first piece of chop, and I'm probably going to look at, I want to start with the small part. I usually will go with the big part, but I like to start small and build up in the areas that are lower. So what I'm going to do here is cut this cloth a little bit. Lay that down right inside of here, along the edge, flange of where the mask will go. I'll take this brush, make sure this is flat, and just stipple it in. A lot like we did with the Cujo thing. We're just stippling this in, making sure there's no bubbles, no bumps, no nothing. It's a little bit difficult because this has grooves and stuff in it that are, it has a lot of curves and contours in it. So we have to make sure this fits with the curves and contours and does not have any bubbles in it. Because any bubbles on the surface of the mask are going to show up. And they're going to be very difficult to do anything sand down. And if they get sanded down, they will likely have a bubble and it'll pop and it'll weaken the outside of the mask. I'll take a big piece here, lay it in here, solid one piece. So line this up on the inside best as I can. Gently push it up against the insides. Lay it out. when it's stretched out and even all the way around. Turn this around where it's easier to get to. We'll take some resin, stipple that down. The objective here is to have this thing as smooth as possible. No bumps, no air bubbles, no grooves, you know, just everything as smooth as possible. Now, this being the first fiberglass casting of this, molding of this, I don't know if it's going to work well or not. So this is totally experimental. And the fact that I'm doing this for the first time. I've worked with fiberglass before, so I'm using the same technique with this as I would with making a fiberglass mold. Principle is the same. It's just layering. Now, this is how you turn your cardboard props into resin fiberglass finales. For those of you that cosplay that do this and you do it in cardboard and resin, this is how you can turn them into fiberglass resin props and or pieces. I've also got a Judge Dredd helmet that I did, and the same thing happened, except with the Dredd helmet, the collapse was greater. So it didn't come out at all. It came out good, but the collapse was so bad that it just collapsed in on itself. So I will be doing the Dredd helmet the same way as this, fiberglass resin. I just wanted to undertake this one first because it's bigger. Therefore, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do. I'm going to overlap my flange just a little bit here, because I want this to be, I can cut off any outside residual parts. I just want to make sure this thing gets completely coated and covered well enough. I'll flip this around, get this other side. Now, the difference between this and the Cujo project was I did not use any silicone on the Cujo form. It was straight clay and fiberglass, which is normally how you would make a fiberglass mold for foam or any other thing. Same thing applies here. The only difference is I have a silicone jacket that I have to, or sleeve, or whatever the term is. I know there's some people out there get mad because I don't use the proper terms. I don't use the right words. Okay, there's a silicone sleeve that's in here, which is what you're fiberglassing in. And that's what I'm doing, is using this, layering this fiberglass mat cloth all along the inside of here and stippling out the bubbles and putting the fiberglass down and all that. And the only problem with this is it tends to grab. It doesn't have something good to hang on to because it doesn't want to stick to the silicone. And it's not supposed to. But it won't grab. It won't grab and hang on to the silicone and stick to it. So that's a good thing. But it's also a frustrating thing because when you're trying to stipple it in and mold it and do all that, there's loose strands that will come loose and they'll want to pull away on your brush. And it just flops around. And that's what's frustrating. When you're working with fiberglass and clay, it will lay down against the clay and grip on the clay. It won't stick to it, where when you pull it away, clay comes off in the fiberglass, but at least it has a porous surface to grab onto. Oh, I am getting mad now. Boy, this thing is just decided, oh, we're going to pull away the whole thing. All right, you dumb son of a bitch. You're going to do that? Fine. You get out of there then. Shit. I don't care. You just get out of there. I'll just let this thing dry. That's what happens sometimes when you're working with this stuff. It gets frustrating. And it wants to get flip-floppy on me, and I'm just going to pull it out there and throw it down. I don't care. Lay more in here. That means I've just got to go over what I just did and do it again. It's also one of the perks of going live on Facebook and YouTube. You can see all the mistakes and the hazards and everything that happens. Good, bad, and ugly. Artist frustrations as well as little hissy fits that might get thrown here and there. Sometimes I'm not all about patience when I'm doing these things, and I need to be, but there's frustrations in doing stuff. Don't let anybody tell you that every artist is successful with what they do and everything comes out right the first time. If you know what you're doing, it does. Which doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. I just, you know, it's just aggravating. Now we're going to try this again with this. Take this out. I know I'm not wearing gloves, and there's a reason why I'm not wearing gloves. Because if I was wearing gloves, this would get so aggravatingly hard to work with. You really should wear gloves, but you know what? When you wear gloves and the stuff wants to pull away and stick on the damn gloves and not work and not do what it's supposed to do, you'll end up throwing away a lot of fiberglass cloth and wasting a lot of materials because you get so frustrated. So I take a little bit of risk in doing this by not wearing gloves. I've been doing this kind of off and on for a few years. It's not that big a deal. If you don't get your hands all messy and mushy with everything. There again, it goes back to you know what you're doing. The reason I use kind of big swatches of cloth is because this is mostly flat. And it can cover quite a wide base if you use large flat pieces. you can get more on and do it quicker. So that's a good thing. Only thing is I have a tangled cloth here that wants to bubble up and bead up and wrinkle up and do all that crap, and I don't want it to wrinkle. I want it to be smooth. But I'm going to have to cut off a corner. Cut off one of these flange pieces here. So that way I can stretch this out and it's not going to bubble up. I've short a couple of pieces, so I'm going to do this. So I don't get resin on this cloth, I am now going to put fucking gloves on. A glove on anyway. You know what? Screw the damn gloves. That's why it's so frustrating. You have gloves that fit, but they don't want to go on. They want to flip-flop and slip-slide and do all that bullshit. Not happening today. Not today. This is fiberglass cloth. It's not going to come away and be like the mat and pull off. I don't have any resin on my hands. of your edge pieces here, and it doesn't want to do its thing, and it wants to pull away and come off and not tuck and not dip and not do anything. And that's what gets frustrating. I'm going to pull this away because there's a wrinkle forming right here. Brush this wrinkle out. And brush that fiberglass up so where the wrinkle comes out, and then you can just tuck that down into the folds. The wrinkle folds will go down in the fold of the mask, the hood, the helmet, whatever you want to call it, shit. Fan over here. I'm gonna move this in. Blowing on my legs is cold. That's another thing that helps with this is it's colder weather, so it's going to be slower in curing for this. Being fiberglass is not going to. Warmer weather helps it cure faster. Now I've got that coated, I'm going to get some chopped mat. We'll start with this. Chopped mat, yeah. I'm going to start inlaying this all in around there to get a layer of chopped mat on there. The rest is fiberglass resin so I don't lose any. Cut these up in large squares like so. And then lay them in there and damp them down. There we go. Son of a bitch. Yeah. Paper towel here real quick. Grab all these little fibers that get off on my hands, so that's why I don't like the mat and the stupid stuff, because it wants to get everywhere. It'll be my project through the weekend, I think, to make this. Let's see how it comes out by, say, Sunday. The last of this fiberglass resin started to set up. Brush that on there and get that wet. Stipple this down. This chopped mat wants to bubble up more than anything else. That's what's frustrating about working with it. Alright, cool. So I got one layer coat all the way around, a little bit of chop mat, and the one place I need to reinforce it for the moment. So I will let this set up a little bit and I'll come back out, put some more chop mat in here, and keep this going through the weekend. And hopefully by Sunday we'll see how this turns out. May be an abysmal failure, may not. We never know. It's like rolling dice around here. You never know what you're going to get. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for watching. And please tune in next time. Thank you. Okay guys, here we are at the finish of the Predator helmet mold. That we did in fiberglass resin. This was the fiberglass and fiberglass matting cloth auto body resin, I should say, auto body fiberglass resin. Now what I want to do is it's dry. There's a couple layers in here. This is basically a quote-unquote test to make sure everything would come out smooth, see what it would look like. So I'm going to pull this out of the outer mold here. And I'm going to peel this fiberglass, the silicone pad off of here. Okay? We'll see how it looks. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it comes out. Sorry about that. We'll see how it looks. Is there any bubbles? Are there any deficiencies? Is there anything wrong with it? You know, that kind of thing. And voila, lo and behold, it looks like a fairly thick piece. The only problem is I have this plug here from the helmet, which is supposed to be where the light would fit, right here. Still a little sticky, but for the most part it's dry, thick, and whatnot. So it looks fairly good, to be honest with you. I may do these up in more resin, and see, of course, I've got to drill out the eyes. I have to cut the hole. That hole, have to mark this off right here, because this is supposed to be a silicone measure. I didn't realize that, and should have, because it's two-part. And when I use casting resin goes in behind here on this piece, and it makes a pocket where that laser light would fit. Now, let me show you on the original. So it makes a pocket hole from the original right here where that laser light would fit. I did not anticipate that in this casting. So what I need to do in the next one is take some fiberglass sheets and lay it up under here and make a mold of this within the fiberglass thing. I just laid it over, and I didn't realize where it was because it's been a while since I've done it. So I did make one little mistake, which is not a problem because now I can do it again, and that will likely happen. But for the most part, it did come out generally well shaped. I will cut and trim this, and then once I get it trimmed out, shaped out and done, I will see it's very rugged and thick too, very durable. So I will get this shaped out and sanded down, and will likely go about putting primer coat on it and painting it out. But I want to take care of this lens first and shape that out. Now there is a bubble right here where the that can be a damaged part. I'll make that a damaged part. It's not a bubble, but it's a groove, like a missing piece portion, and I can make that look like damage, so that's no problem. There are benefits when you do have little errors and stuff like that. You can make them work to your benefit. So for the most part, solid, good, a little sticky, little sticky, but you know, I think it'll work. We'll throw some paint on it and see what it looks like. Alrighty, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.